Good morning. This is Maria Quattrone with Be the Solution. My belief is that we should live our lives by providing values to others by being the solution. And today I welcome our guest, Noah Ostroff. Noah is the CEO of KW Philly, PhillyLiving, Center City Investment Company, and Center City Development. Welcome, Noah. I'm so happy to have you on this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's fun to be here.
Yeah, excellent. How are you?
I'm doing well. Staying busy, staying motivated, and keeping the wheels moving.
Yeah, well, you got a lot of things going on at the same time, so that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I see you're working from home, so that's, I guess, good.
Yes, I could not figure out how to get the virtual background up on this screen. It's a good thing it's not the summer because I was running the companies out of a closet this summer. So if you saw my virtual background, you'd see clothes in the background and hangers hanging there. I was working out of a closet this summer.
Oh, that sounds like me. I have a bedroom I turned into when I moved into the house, half office, half closet. Yep. Never used the office until March.
It's a beautiful thing.
You saw this big bag with my wedding dress in it and all kinds of stuff.
We're getting very, very up close and personal with people these days. It's a beautiful thing.
We are.
We can run our companies from anywhere in the world pretty much.
Yeah, so that takes us to like how we really are a global society. And there's so much, I believe, even though through everything that's happened, I believe there's so much opportunity that's available for people that want to take it. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I've been saying this since the beginning. Wherever there's chaos, there's going to be opportunity. And, we talked about this before, like the greatest transfer of wealth happens during down markets. And there's always going to be opportunities. And, not that it's a good thing for a lot of people, because I think with all the shutdowns in the world and everything going on, unfortunately, there's a lot of people that are majorly being affected by this, where businesses that were seemingly solid businesses are never going to recover from this because, they just don't have enough revenue coming in, or they didn't have enough money in their reserves. When we talk about, how to have a proper business, we always talk about having, 4 to 6 months of reserves for what they call that rainy day, right? When you're growing up, your parents are telling you, put some money away in savings for a rainy day. Don't spend all the money you have. Well, this is the rainy day that everybody's been talking about. This, the year 2020, that's the rainy day that we're all talking about. And a lot of businesses were taught to have 4 to 6 months worth of reserves, right? To cover 4 to 6 months worth of your expenses. If you have zero revenue coming in, for that amount of time, your business can still survive for 4 to 6 months without doing it. Well, unfortunately, a lot of these businesses are operating, paycheck to paycheck, month to month, just like a lot of people in the world and a lot of businesses and a lot of real estate agents for sure are operating paycheck to paycheck. Well, when you don't have enough revenue coming in for a period of 1 month or 2 months, or, it's been 8 months or 9 months now, a lot of these businesses won't be able to survive. And if you don't have somebody who can put more money into the company, or another personal savings account where you can put more money into the company, you have no way to come back from not being able to pay your bills or pay your staff. And a lot of these businesses are not going to come back from that. So again, with that negativity, that will create a lot of opportunity as well for people that have the cash, right? Cash is king during times like this. And if you have the cash, and if you recognize an opportunity, you will be able to take advantage of a lot of opportunities that will present to you during this time. And you'll be able to grow your businesses or grow your lives to exponential rates just because you've positioned yourself properly and you've made a lot of smart decisions along the way.
Are you looking at some new businesses, Noah?
I'm always looking at new businesses. I consider myself an investor at heart. So, a lot of the wealth building that I do is geared around investing in passive income type properties, recurring revenue businesses. So that starts with, the rental properties that I have. So a lot of the development stuff that I'm doing right now is geared around passive income because, we talk about wealth. My definition of wealth is having $1 more of passive income than you have in personal expenses so you can fund your perfect life. So if you wanted to go away for a month or stop selling real estate, tomorrow, you still have enough money coming in to cover your expenses. So my plan is a long-term plan. I have a long-term perspective on a lot of the businesses that I look at. And, I figure like 10 years or sooner when my kids are in college, you have enough money coming in passive income from the rental properties or the other recurring revenue businesses to fund your life. And you work because you want to work, not because you have to work. So I consider myself an investor. So a lot of the businesses that I do look at have that same business model. So recently we bought another brokerage in the main line, the Keller Williams main line brokerage. We got that up and running. And we bought a large property management company over the summer. So we manage about 2,500 properties right now. And we're looking at some other businesses in real estate and outside of real estate as well, where we see there's opportunity.
That's pretty exciting. How's the new office doing? I saw that they moved into Ardmore.
Yeah, we signed a lease in Suburban Square, and we have 9,000 square feet out there, and we're cutting.
It looks pretty.
Yeah, well, it's not open yet. What you saw is a rendering, but it looks very. Yeah, and a lot of people thought that was the real office.
It was real too.
Yeah, well, hopefully.
I was like, they moved fast.
I know. Well, hopefully we can make it look exactly like that. But we're under construction right now. We're gutting the space out, and we hope by January that we'll be fully up and running. So, the opening a new business, that's the exciting part. Growing a new business, that's where the excitement is. It starts to lose some of its excitement once you're established and sort of leveling the playing field. So, always trying to find the next thing or even reinvent the current businesses that we're in to keep it exciting. Yeah. As Amazon, Jeff Bezos, he says always approach every day like it's the first day. And, that's kind of the mentality that we have as well. Yeah.
Start every day with as if you have nothing, right?
Yep. Yeah. That's what we say. Come to work every day as if you're unemployed and your job that day is to get hired.
Well, most real estate agents every day are unemployed, right? You're going to come and bring all that energy, enthusiasm every day to make it happen.
Yep.
So how's KW Philly doing? How many agents do you have now in your brokerage?
KW Philly, we have about 400 agents, and I would say it's doing pretty well. We did a pretty good job through the pandemic. Still doing a good job during the pandemic of just keeping everybody motivated and keeping people focused. I would say it's a challenge being a leader right now over the last year. And I think that a lot of leaders, including yourself, will probably, say the same thing. It's a difficult task to be a leader, to try to lead people through the unknown, right? What we're going through right now, no matter where what you've done in your life, you've never had to lead people through a pandemic. You probably haven't had to lead people through a lot of, all the social stuff going on in society and through the political stuff going on in society right now. And it's a challenge being a leader because people are fearful. People are fearful of the unknown. And, our job as leaders is to lead people through this, right? And try to make them feel calm and comfortable and stay focused on action and doing the right things and not get caught up in the negativity and keeping people motivated. And of course, keeping ourselves motivated through all this as well. I try to find things every day to motivate myself so that I have enough energy to motivate everybody else as well. And, that I would say has probably been a challenge because, a lot of strong opinions these days. And as leaders, we have to make big decisions, very big decisions. And a lot of times we have to make them very quickly without a lot of knowledge on what's right and what's wrong. But I think, the life experiences that we have and that we've had along the way have allowed us to make what appears to be impulsive decisions, right? Impulsive ways of going about things. But these life experiences that we had have helped us to shape the answers that we give to lead our people through this. And I think we've done a pretty good job through that. The sales have been good. It certainly helped that the market's been very good. I think most real estate companies in Philadelphia probably had their best quarter ever in the third quarter or one of their best quarters. It was a very good real estate market in the third quarter. That's been good. Hopefully it will continue. I feel like it's slowing down a little bit in Philadelphia right now, not in the suburbs or Jersey, but in Philadelphia, but still pretty good. Can't complain. How about you guys? How things been for you?
Yeah, things have been great. It's been a busy year. It's definitely been a challenging year, but I feel really good about things. And I feel like lately an extra little pep in the step, getting it done and focusing on a few new initiatives. So that's exciting. And starting this podcast in April, that was a big thing. So I love doing it. I love interviewing great leaders like you, Noah, and learning a lot from other people. So it's going really well. How's your team? PhillyLiving. What's going on with that?
Team is good. The team has gone through a number of massive changes over the years. We started out, it was just me. Actually, it was me and you back in the day at Coldwell Banker. And I remember when I was a new agent in 2008, and we had Coldwell Banker, we had those cubicles so you could hear everybody talking. And every day I would hear you on the phone making those phone calls. And I'm like, man, this is what I need to do too, because you were very successful back then, still are.
Expired listings.
That was your thing. And
that's how I broke out into the industry.
I remember. And I was watching you. I said, all right, well, that must be what I need to do as well. So that's what I did too. And it worked, and we sort of learned. You and I both had teams back when teams weren't really a thing. We didn't really have a lot of people to look up to and figure out how to do it. We kind of figured it out on our own. And now, everybody has a team. And even teams that are not really teams are teams.
Our teams.
Yeah, right. They're just kind of groups of people not all rowing in the same direction. And I think the difference between a group and a team, and one thing that we've sort of kept true over the years, is that we all row in the same direction. We all have a common goal that we're all going towards. And that, I think, is what has helped us to sort of maintain the team over the year. And of course, we've had a lot of changes. I would say we've been a very good breeding ground for some of the top agents in the market. Even some of the agents that have left our team have gone on to lead successful teams, have gone on to do other great things in their career, or are still great real estate agents right now on their own. So I think we've done a good job of breeding good agents and teaching them the right things. Back in 2017, we had this idea to expand what we had in Philadelphia out to other markets. And we opened up 13 teams that year. We opened Global Living. We sort of took PhillyLiving and we created a parent company, Global Living. And under Global Living, we had PhillyLiving, which was PhillyLiving. We had PhillyLiving Bluebell, Mainline, Media, Devon Wayne, and I think a couple other places out in the suburbs. And then we had Jersey Living, and we had a couple places in New Jersey. And we created Miami Living. We had 3 locations in Miami. We had Palm Beach Living. We had a location in in Palm Beach. We had a location in Columbus, Ohio. We even had a team in the UK, Leeds Living.
Right, I remember that.
Yeah, that was fun. It was very expensive to get the money out of that country, so we shut it down. But that year, it was fun because you're growing a company and you're doing something different. Again, we didn't have a lot of we didn't really have a roadmap of how to do it, but we just did it, and we created a vision, and we attracted people to that vision, and we went out and recruited people, and we brought on about 80 people to the team that year around the country, and it was fun, but it was chaotic. And I would say I learned a lot about how sales and operations work together. Or don't work together.
Yeah, one doesn't work without the other.
Right. So I'm sales minded, right? I'm focused on growth and sales, and like that to me is what drives every decision that I make. How do I grow the company? And of course, by doing that, you have to remember that when you grow the company and when you bring on real estate agents, and you bring on listings and sales and all the things that are going to drive the growth of the company, somebody or something has to support that. And we were growing at such a rapid rate. We had a plan of how to grow. Like we really had a great plan of how to grow, and we were executing on it. But we didn't have a great plan at first of how to keep up with the operations end of it, right? So we quickly learned that the operations team couldn't support the number of sales we were doing, because at some points we were selling over 100 houses a month, and we didn't have the back end support to really keep up with that. So we caught up eventually, and when you don't have the support to do that, either the service to your agents is lacking. They're not getting the service that they expect, or your staff is getting burnt out, and they potentially quit, or they're just not happy because they're just so overwhelmed with the amount of work that they have. So we eventually figured out the formula of how many listings each listing coordinator can handle, how many transactions each transaction coordinator can handle.
What are those numbers? Curious. You figured out.
Yeah, back then we thought it was about each listing coordinator could handle about I would say like 30 or 40 new listings a month and service them properly. And we do a lot of, and again, it depends on how many steps you have in each part of your real estate transaction.
Sure.
We have a checklist of about 260 different things that happen for every, like a buyer transaction, a listing transaction, rental transaction. There's about 260 different steps. So we're very, very detailed. And that's everything from like letters that get sent out to the clients, or communication we have with the agents, or following up with, whatever it is. We're very detailed. So that's about all that we can handle. And then on the transaction side, we figured comfortably about 30 new transactions every month is what a transaction coordinator can handle effectively, because you figure every transaction will stay in the queue for about 2 months on average, right? A deal takes 45 or 60 days. So that means that at any given time you have about 60 transactions, and that's probably even a lot, 25 to 30 per month. So
yeah, I mean, that's what we see, about 60.
Yeah, 56. And I'm not saying that we don't do more. There's definitely times where I had transaction coordinators doing like over 100 active transactions at a time. And that's just too many. I'm not saying we can't handle it, but things get missed and you don't get the same level of service.
I agree. I think that 60 is the max at a time per person.
Yeah.
Unless you're having, assistance to the assistants.
Yeah, no, I agree. And so we figured that stuff out along the way, and we started to then get ahead of the hiring. So we figured, all right, well, if our goal is to recruit X number of agents every month, that means in 3 months we're going to have, this many agents, and with this many agents we project this many sales, and with this many sales we project this many listings and transactions. And so this means that we need to have this number of listing coordinators, this number of transaction coordinators, and all the other positions, along the way. And we know that, they don't just like appear out of nowhere. You have to hire them, which could figure a month to hire the right person, at least a month. And then it takes probably 90 days to get them up to speed and fully trained. So we knew that if in 4 months from now we were going to have, this many transactions, we needed to start 4 months earlier to hire the people and get them trained. So in 4 months, when we're at that level of production, call it the spring market or whatever level we're hiring, then we knew we had that we knew we had to start 4 months earlier to be able to keep up with the amount of deals that we were doing, so we could provide the level of service to the agents that they were expecting. So that was 2017. We were selling a lot of real estate back then. We sold about 800 homes that year. We 225 million in real estate. Sounds good on the outside. We had a crazy amount of expenses because we were just operating at such a fast pace that we were sort of just throwing money at
it to make it work, right?
Throwing money at it to make it work. And
I know about that too, Noah.
Yeah. And we were trying to track it. I mean, we were trying to track it, but things were moving so fast that you just couldn't cut expenses quick enough to do that. And it became not fun anymore, to be honest with you. Like it was cool. It was good to do it, but it became not fun because there were some months that we had to sell 65 houses just to break even. Like that's how high our expenses were. Some months, we had $250,000 in expenses not some months like that. That was our, like, basically our break even. We had about $250,000 a month in expenses to run the team. And so we needed about 60 or 65 houses a month to break even. And we were selling a lot of houses back then. And most months we were selling more than 65 houses a month. But I'll be honest with you, there were some months that we just sold 65 houses. And like, that's an amazing accomplishment. You're like, you want to, be excited, and 65 houses, like, holy crap, that's like, there's not that many people in the country that sell that many. But to sell that many houses and like just barely, break even or make a little bit of money, that's not fun. So I realized that as cool as it looked from the outside to have all these people and doing all this business, from the inside, we weren't making as much money as we should. And it wasn't a fun thing to have to sell that many houses. So I realized that, that, like, kind of sidetracking for a second, the industry in general, the real estate industry, focuses on the wrong thing. I think a lot of times in the real estate business, we just focus on the wrong things. Our brokerages promote, who's got the most sales volume, who has the most number of units, sometimes the most gross commission income. That's the wrong thing to focus on. Nobody ever talks about profit, right? We don't hear anybody talking about this person made the most profit, most amount of money. And that's a problem in our industry, because I don't think real estate agents either are taught the right things or don't care enough to brag about the right things.
Well, I think, no, I mean, we came from, in the beginning, from similar places the same brokerage, right?
Yeah.
When did anybody ever say that? Like, no, this is what you focus on. At the time, that was, in the beginning, people weren't promoting that. Then they started to promote units, volume, and then it was like a monster.
It was a monster, and nobody ever, when we started our career, nobody talked about, at least not enough. Nobody talked about profit. It was, how many homes did you sell? And even when agents are talking about stuff, they brag about the wrong things. And because they brag about the wrong things, and because, the wrong things are being promoted in the industry, that's what people focus on. They're competing on units. They're competing on volume. And nobody's like promoting the profit that they make. And, I've been in like top mastermind groups around the country for years, people that are doing 100, 200, 300 million in sales volume or more. And these people make, sometimes they make as much money as somebody that's selling $10 million in real estate a year. They're like, what's the point of having such a huge company that, of course, with a big company, there's a lot of problems that come with that, of course, and stresses. What's the point of having all that stress and all those problems when you can make the same amount of money just selling, 30, 40 houses a year? And so we realized that we were focusing on the wrong things. We were focusing on the things that boosted our ego and made us feel good and look good to the general public. But on the inside, like, this is not a fun business. So we decided to shut down a lot of the teams around the country that were becoming a distraction for us. We were very, I would say we were distracted during that year when we were selling all these houses, because we were running enthusiastically in 1,000 different directions. And we weren't focused on what was most important, which is our team in Philadelphia, which was our highest producing team and always was. And we were losing focus on that. And we were losing focus on profitability. So we shut down a lot of those teams. We still kept some of them open, but we shut down a lot of them. And we just started chipping away at our expenses. We started holding all of our expenses accountable, figuring, what do we actually need to be spending money on? We had an inside sales department back then where we had, I think, about 4 people. And that year, I think our inside sales department was responsible for maybe like 100 deals, which sounds like a lot. And again, if I'm talking to groups, like, man, I want an inside sales department because I want to do 100 deals, right? So that's, again, part of the conversation. But when you really dive into the business and analyze the business and the profitability, we had 3 or 4 inside sales agents. The top one was doing about 60 of those deals. And then the next best one was doing about 25 or 30 of those deals. And then, kind of went down from there. So, we started looking at this, and we were paying inside sales agents a salary plus a piece of the commission. And we found that if our lowest producing inside sales agent was actually costing us money. Our inside sales department had was profit, it was profitable, of course, but the profitability margin was not that high. And because it costs a lot of money to generate the amount of leads that you need for the inside sales department. So we were spending a ton of money on, outside websites to generate these leads. We were spending money on salaries. And by cutting the lowest level of the inside sales agent, we would increase our profitability margin by about 9%. And by increasing the second lowest, we increased it by another like 9 or 10%. And, presumably you'd say, well, you're going to lose that business, but not really, because we were generating the leads ourselves. So theoretically it would go to the inside sales agent that was having the best conversion rate, right? And the one that had the best conversion rate was converting at the highest level, and you wouldn't really lose those leads anyway. So, we started diving into that, and we started cutting expenses for everything. And to the point where if we save $15 in a month, we were like, yeah, we just saved $15 this month. And it took us about a year to get our expenses down from like $250,000 a month to like $50,000 a month. Like we dropped them down that much. And then it became a more fun business, because then we only had to sell, 15 houses a month to break even. And that was very doable, because we would do that every month, way more than that every month. And that became a way more fun, more profitable business. So when you looked at our business from the outside, in 2017, when we sold $225,000 in real estate, and in 2018, we sold, about $150,000 in real estate, or somewhere around there, you would from the outside think, oh, wow, Philly Living is really falling apart. They're doing way less business. We sold, 500 houses versus 800 houses. And from the outside, it looked like it wasn't. But we made 2 times as much money that year than we did in the previous year, selling, $50,000 to $100,000 less in real estate. We were more profitable doing that, because we were focused on the right things, which was our expenses, our profitability, our cost of sale, and holding everything very accountable. And that was a very good lesson in business for me. And it's something that I've been carrying on since then, and trying to teach other people as well to not focus on the wrong things, but focus on profitability, because the main purpose of a business, at least a nonprofit, not a nonprofit business, is profit, right? What's that?
I'm saying, what do you think the team's profitability margin should be?
Well, it depends on who you ask. Kind of the Bible of real estate, at least in the bubble that I'm in, is following the millionaire real estate agent model that Gary Keller wrote. And that model has a profitability of about 39%, I believe. That to me is achievable in a couple scenarios. If you're an individual agent or a small team, it's probably possible, because if you're in the business and you're the rainmaker, you're still selling a lot of houses, your cost of sale is pretty low, so you can achieve that. If your price point is high, I have some friends around the country where they sell, their average price is like over $1 million. So your expense ratio is much lower when your commission is so much higher in every deal, right? Whereas I have friends around the country that their average price is $200,000 and their expense ratio is way higher, just because their average price point is lower. And I think you can achieve that in a higher average price point. Also, I see when as teams get bigger and bigger, and the rainmaker, like me, basically, is not the top selling agent on the team anymore, then there's a higher cost of sale, because when I do a deal, there's basically zero cost of sale, because I'm keeping 100% of my commission. Whereas if I have an agent on my team and they're doing a deal, I have to pay them 50% or whatever the split is that I pay them. So automatically, your cost of sale, goes out the window, or it goes up. So, I think as teams get bigger and the rainmaker is not selling as many houses, I've seen about 15 to 25% profitability margin for like big teams. When I say like big teams, like call like over 100 million. I think it's achievable to get to at least 25% profit margin for like an above average size team. Well, what are you seeing?
Yeah, I agree with you. I've been in I've reinvented what I'm doing multiple times because of learning lessons, just like you just talked about. And, back in the Coldwell days when I was at the Walnut Street office, I had 7 inside salespeople calling people. To me, I think back and I think that was crazy.
Yeah.
That was it was a crazy thing, right? And I was spending money and I wasn't even working off like a proper P&L back in 2012. And, the margins really weren't where they needed to be. And so I've seen, I think if you can get to 39, 40, 42%, you're doing very, very well if you're a producing agent.
Yes.
I said, outside of that, I agree with the numbers. I mean, some cases, some people are making, 15% because of the expense. When you're doing extensive advertising and you have $250,000, even more. I mean, like our advertising budget this year, we spent probably close to almost 300 between radio, TV, direct mail. I mean, you're seeing anywhere between people spending in that between 10 and 20%. The bigger the team, the more they're spending. So
I agree.
it's, we looked at the expenses. I finished the budget for 2021. It's completed what our spend's going to be. And, we know exactly how many homes we need to sell to make our profit margins. And it will happen come hell or high water. I will tell you that, because I'm very, very focused on it. I look at it. I look every week, and then I analyze it every month after that. And I think whether in any business, you really need to be doing that, whether you're a small team, a big team, a solo agent. You really need to get a handle of that, because when you're doing all that, you're like, wow, my expenses are, like 250 and I made 250. That's not good. And it's kind of depressing.
Yeah.
I mean, you're like, what? This is all for naught. Like, this is BS.
I agree.
And I love the realness of this conversation, Noah, because I think, and I'm really happy that you brought it up, because a lot of people think that, everybody has it better, or this person's doing this and they must be living in, a $5 million house with all the houses they're selling. And they really, they see all the glory, but they don't know the story. They don't know what's going on, behind the scenes.
Like that.
So it's important that we share this and our experience with others that are less business experienced in the industry, so that they can learn.
Yep.
And honesty and transparency is, it's lacking, but it's not lacking for us, right?
No, it's true. And I think the challenge is a lot of people, like you mentioned, don't even have a profit and loss statement. And you can never understand the true profitability of your business or what your expense ratio is, or your cost of sale, or your profit margin, or anything without a scorecard. And the scorecard is the profit and loss statement. It's the balance sheet. It's the cash flow statement. You have to have that to know. I can tell you, I've had one since, 2010 or 11, or like pretty early on in my career. I got a profit and loss. I had a profit and loss statement every month. And, the first couple of years of my career, I didn't have one. So you think you're making all this money because all this commission's coming in, you're not really tracking it. But then when you have a profit and loss statement, it's like a big slap in the face. You're like, wow, I wasn't making as much money as I thought, because I forgot to, recognize that I had spent money to generate this business, and I had cost of sale, and I had these expenses and these salaries. And, you look back at the end of the day, and you're like, man, there's not as much money in there as I really thought. And I think over time, the business has gotten more expensive to run. When I was a new agent early on, when I first, started PhillyLiving, it was one of only a couple real estate websites in Philadelphia that had an IDX feed. And I know that's like a funny foreign concept to most of the newer agents now. But back then, in like 2008, 9, 10, there were not every real estate agent had their own website with properties that you could look at. It just didn't exist. So we were one of only a couple, and that was a big value proposition that we had back then. And our SEO on our website was very good. And we came up number one for pretty much every real estate related keyword that you search for in Philadelphia. And we did it naturally. We didn't pay any money. We didn't pay AdWords campaigns. We didn't pay for anything. We didn't have any forced registrations. We had about 1,000 people a day that would come to our website, which is a pretty good amount for a real estate website. And we would get about, I don't know, 200 to 300 leads a month from people reaching out to us saying, hey, we want to look, we want a real estate agent to help us find a property, or we want to go see this property. And these were like real leads too. And that, it didn't cost us anything to have that, right? The advertising that we did on Craigslist or any of the promotion, like I didn't really spend a lot of money early on in my career to do that. But then Google changed their algorithms, and it became more expensive to keep up with this SEO, the search engine optimization, and the SEM, search engine marketing. And, you know, we were spending $5 or $10 or $20,000 a month for outside people to come in and do this SEO or SEM for us. And it just became too expensive. So we sort of stopped doing that because Google kept changing their algorithms like every few months. It was just hard to keep up with that. So we had to find what was the next big lead generation thing that we can do. Because we know that in marketing, you get about 6 to 9 months out of every good marketing initiative you do before it either becomes obsolete or before, you know, somebody copies off of you and then it just doesn't work as well as it did anymore. So
how do you figure that? 6 to 9 months?
6 to 9 months of every good marketing initiative before it's not as effective as it used to be. Mostly, not for everything. Because once everybody else is doing that one special thing that you're doing, you're not unique anymore, right? So it doesn't work to the same level.
Oh, Noah, you're always will be unique. Now, come on.
Well, I'm trying to. So
what did you figure out now?
Yeah. So with that, it became, so they changed it. So we kept looking for the next big thing. And, you know, we spent a lot of money on Zillow over the years to keep up with that. And that just became, you know, too expensive to keep up with. Yeah, it just became too expensive to keep up with. So
are you still on them?
Not really, actually. We spend like the minimum, like $500 a month or whatever the minimum is just to sort of be there. But we really don't spend a lot of money with them anymore. The last couple of years, we've really been trying to figure out what the next big thing is going to be to stay ahead of the curve. So a couple of years ago, we bought a large the largest residential rental brokerage in Philadelphia. We bought the Philly Apartment Company.
Yeah.
You know, we do about 1,000 rentals a year from that company. We recently bought a property management company. So we manage about 2,500 properties now. So
which one was that?
PMG.
Oh, yeah.
Property Management Group.
Cool. Congrats.
So, thanks. So, you know, we had this theory of, you know, people work with real estate agents because of a relationship, right? A lot of times, though, we enter that relationship at the point of the transaction when somebody's ready to buy or when somebody's ready to sell real estate. But we found that if we get into the relationship with them earlier on in the process, then we stand a better, and we do a good enough job of staying in front of them and keeping them in our world. We can be there for them before they become a Zillow lead, right? So we're getting to them when they're a tenant. Typically, before somebody is a buyer, they're a tenant. So we get to people when they're a tenant. We hopefully will do a good job with them when they're a tenant and stay in front of them for, you know, a year or 5 years until they're ready to buy a house. And then, you know, we're there for them when they're ready to do that. Same thing with the landlords. The landlords are buyers, they're investors. The landlords are sellers at some point. So we're there for them when they go to buy and sell. So we're trying to figure out, I guess, dissect leads. Where do they actually come from? Where do they originate? And we're trying to get to them way early, way back in time before they ever get to that point. And, you know, we're early on in that journey. We're still early in that journey. So, but I think it's a long-term play that in a couple of years, if we do it the right way and we stay in front of people, you know, we should have a more inexpensive way to maintain the business, and without having to pay tens of thousands of dollars every month to generate leads. We're going to create our own ecosystem to self-generate those leads within our own team.
Smart. So it's been a couple of years with a Philly Apartment Company, right?
Yep. Been about 3 years with that. And, you know, I think I learned some lessons from that as well. You know, we operated it's a good lesson in mergers and acquisitions, because I've now done a handful of mergers and acquisitions over the last 5 years or so. And I probably didn't do it the right way in the beginning. And when you merge brands, it's important to understand that brand and understand your brand and understand how you can merge not only the brand, but the procedures and the operations and the systems that you have in place too, because you're taking two decent sized companies that all have their own procedures, that all have their own people and staff, and you have to merge that together. So I would say that we probably didn't do that the proper way the first time, and we learned some lessons with that. We operated the Philly Apartment Company as the Philly Apartment Company for the last 3 years as sort of like a separate company, as an affiliate of Philly Living. And I think that caused confusion with people in the market, not knowing that Philly Living and Philly Apartment Company were tied into each other. So it didn't allow us to integrate in our back end operations, because when you have somebody from Philly Living back end calling, a tenant from Philly Apartment Company saying, hey, we helped you rent your property last year, and we want to talk to you about whatever. They're like, wait, I didn't rent a property from Philly Living. I rented from Philly Apartment Company. Mm-hmm. So this year we merged the brands. So Philly Apartment Company is now just basically a lead generation website for us. And it still, it operates, we get a lot of leads off of that site, but now everybody's Philly Living now. So there's no more like brand Philly Apartment Company. So we learned some lessons from that. So next time around, when we did the property management stuff, the property management company is now called Philly Living Management Group. And we're merging all the operations and procedures and everything under one central location. So now we can create sort of like a regional level above that can support all the different companies that we have and create these economies of scale, which in turn, can reduce expenses and reduce expense ratios. So we don't have duplicate expenses amongst all the different companies.
Wow, that's interesting lesson that happened with that, because you wouldn't think that would happen, right?
Yeah. You think you just buy a company and then everything's going to be like the way you want it, but it's not like that. People are used to doing things a certain way. Even just silly things like how a rental transaction is processed and how the paperwork's turned in, and how the commission's turned in, and what happens when the lead comes in, just like literally everything down to the phone system, just having to redo the phone system so it's in an organized way so people know that we're all integrated as one company. So there's a lot more that goes into mergers and acquisitions versus just, once you make the deal happen and you're able to come up with a creative way to make those deals, then it's about integrating in all those aspects of the company so you can operate as one brand, so that the experience, when people are dealing with somebody from Philly Living, the experience is the same. Just like when you go into a Starbucks anywhere around the country, the experience is virtually the same no matter what store you're at. So we're trying to create that same experience no matter what person you interact with any of our companies.
Yeah, sometimes it's easier just to start from scratch, right?
Absolutely. That's kind of the development, with the whole development thing. Like the reason why we do mostly new construction development is because it's easy. You start with a blank canvas. You don't have to worry about anybody else's problems and try to fix those. So we don't do a lot of rehabs, because when you do rehabs, you uncover problems that existed once you start ripping the drywall off. So
yeah,
absolutely. Scratch.
Usually a hot mess under there. So speaking of the development, you're mainly focusing on more rentals these days?
Yeah, mostly a mix, but I would say mentally I'm more focused on the rentals. For years, we did a lot of for sale projects, mostly in the higher end for sale stuff, because we found kind of a niche in the market that nobody else was in. Back in 2010, when we really started to get bigger in development, there really weren't any $1 million homes, not a lot of them at least, and there were no $1 million new construction homes in the market. So we found a niche in the market where we found suburban buyers that were coming from the main line or wherever, in, baby boomers or empty nesters where their kids are off to college and they want to sell their, 6,000 or 7,000 square foot house in the main line and move to a 5,000 square foot house in Philadelphia because Philadelphia was cool. There's restaurants, there's things to do. So we created a product that didn't really exist. We created almost like a double wide house with 2-car garage, bigger, gated community. So people felt safe moving into the city. And we had, young professionals with young families that didn't want to move out to the suburbs. They wanted to stay in the city, but they also wanted to be in like a suburban type of a house. So we created this product and we had no competition. And we did it for maybe, 3 or 4 years over a series of different projects. And we really didn't have any competition. And we found that there was definitely a need for this type of product in the market. And we did pretty well with it. And then other people started to see, oh, this is a pretty good product. And other people started to develop similar types of homes and certainly had a lot more competition a couple years into it. So, my next move was to figure out where is there a gap in the market now that there's not competition. So we found that if you did research in Philadelphia, there were people want new construction homes, but there were no new construction homes at that time for like $400,000. But there were plenty of people that could only afford $400,000 and wanted a new construction home. So for a couple of years, we focused in on that price point and we created a product. It was like a condo type product that existed for around $400,000. And we did about 50. We did about 50 of those, or 50 or 60 of those, and that worked for a while as well. And
then more and more people were doing that.
And then more and more people were doing that, right? So then you try to find where the next area is. And we had this concept of, you have people that, again, can only spend under $300,000 that want to be in a new construction house, but don't need a 2,000 or 2,500 or 3,000 square foot house. They don't need it, right? But all the new construction coming out of the ground is 3 stories, and it's 2,500 square feet or more. And we found that we can develop a product that was a 2-story product that was only about 1,500 square feet that we could deliver for under 300,000. And because we found that there were 0 new construction homes in all of Philadelphia for under 300,000, literally 0. So that was another hole in the market, a gap in the market that we had this theory of, if we can deliver this product. And of course you have to deliver it a little bit in the outskirt neighborhoods because you have to be able to buy the land cheap enough to be able to build the house to make, somewhat of a profit. What's that?
Where was that at?
That was recently. That was like the last couple of years we did that. So we sort of did that quietly under the radar. We bought up a handful of lots and sort of tested this theory. We call it the concept house. And we tested this theory. And I think the theory was a solid one because I've never had more showings on a house than I did on these particular houses. I mean, when I say a lot, I'm talking 100 showings in the course of like a 6-week period. And so that's a lot of showing, but they weren't, you figure with 100 showings, you would be getting tons of offers, and we weren't getting tons of offers because people love the houses. They thought they were great houses, but they didn't love the neighborhoods because you really had to be kind of on the outskirt neighborhoods. And while people love the houses, they didn't really want to live in these neighborhoods because they were still really up and coming. They were definitely rough neighborhoods and not quite as safe as people wanted. So we sort of put that on hold for a little while to sort of recalibrate the plans a little bit and redesign the homes a little bit. But we got mainly focused on the rental stuff a few years ago when I started doing my wealth building stuff and started trying to build the passive income, because the goal was every year add a certain amount of net profit to my passive income, increasing the monthly revenue by a certain dollar amount so that in 10 years, when my kids are all in college, I can do more traveling or, do more stuff that I want to be doing and still have the money coming in from the investment properties to be able to fund all that stuff. We have a big project coming up that we're hopefully going to break ground in the next, hopefully we'll break ground this month at 24th and Washington. And that's called Innovator Village. And that project's going to have 82 units. And it's a mix of, we have 26 homes and condos and duplexes for sale. And we have 56 apartments for rent, and 1, 2, and 3 bedroom apartments, all different product mix. And we have about 15,000 square feet of retail as well. So it's going to be a nice project for us. It's a gated community. It will be the largest project that we've done. And it's been about almost 3 years in the making, dealing with all we had to get the site, new ordinance on the site to get it, the zoning reclassified. And we had to, a lot of neighborhood meetings and plan changes, and then coronavirus hit. So that's been slowing us down. So we're hoping to break ground in about a week or so. And that should be a really nice project. That'll take us about a couple of years to get through.
What's your price point for the out sales of the new construction condos and townhouses?
So the first phase of the project is going to be eight townhomes, and they're going to be about 3,000 square feet, 4 bedroom, 3.5 bath. They're going to have 2-car garage. They're 30 feet wide, so they're really wide homes. Mm-hmm. And the price point is going to be about $800,000. Yeah, so pretty reasonable.
That sounds pretty fair.
Yeah, pretty reasonable price
about
point.
3,000 square feet.
Yeah. Yep. For what we're delivering, we felt what we wanted to do was come in what we thought was under market value. And the strategy for us is
it's $275 a foot. I mean, that's pretty inexpensive.
Pretty cheap, yeah.
The ones up the street are going for $420 a foot.
Right. Yeah. There's similar homes not too far away that are going for $900,000 or even over $1 million. And we wanted to come in under the market because the philosophy that we sort of had with development over all my years of developing has been to leave a little bit of money on the table. And it's like a weird thing to do because since we just talked about profit, but we also now we're talking about leaving some money on the table.
Yeah, but time is money, and the carrying cost of a project is money. And you actually make more. Sometimes it works out better because you make more money because of the time of value over money. You could be deployed somewhere else.
100%. That's exactly right. And we found that we start the project off at a pretty low amount, and the first 60% of the project, you're under market value. And then the next 20% of the project, you start to raise prices as you go. As demand gets created, if enough demand is there, it allows us to raise prices on the project as we go, if we want to. So then between 60 to 80% of the project, that's where you start to make the largest profit margins there. And then the last, call it the last 10% of the project, right? So the middle meat is 30%. The last 10% of the project, usually you're left with your worst lots, the ones that people don't want, and those you're able to sell those at whatever price you need to sell them to get rid of to finish the project off.
So that's super duper exciting.
Yeah,
I like the name.
Yeah, Innovator Village. We wanted to come up with something creative. And we designed the project. I'm really into the architecture of the projects that we do because I look back at some of the older stuff that I developed back in 2010, and it's just ugly. It's nice on the inside, but it's ugly on the outside. And I drive by it, and I don't even want to tell people that I built it because it's just stucco bay fronts, and that's just what people were building back then. It's just so ugly.
I bet you're glad you're out of the $1.5 million and up market.
Yeah. It's that market was fine. I mean, that market is fine. But the thing is, back when we were selling $1 million homes, that was a high price back then. Now you can't even find anything now. Those homes, are retrading for $2.5 million. Those same exact homes that I sold, 6 years ago or whatever it was, are now reselling for $1 million more than we sold them for. So the market's changed. The $1.5 million price point is now the $2.5 million. That's kind of what it is. And, the designs that I'm into now are more the industrial looking buildings. I like the industrial looking, making it look like an old warehouse. That's the look that I'm into right now. I think it's different. I think it stands the test of time, and I don't think we'll go out of style. So that's the type of stuff that we're doing right now.
Super cool. Do you have a retail tenant in line?
No, we haven't started doing retail yet because that that phase of the project is probably about 2 years away from, being finished.
Oh, okay.
But what we're going to be looking for, we're not looking for any big box tenants. We're looking for neighborhood type of tenants, stuff that is going to bring life to the street during the day and also bring life to the street during the nighttime as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to segment the spaces off for what we want to put in there. So we'll say like this 700 square feet is for a bagel shop, and this is for an ice cream place, and this is for whatever, right? So we're going to put things that we believe are going to be good for the neighborhood. And I've created a list of about, 100 different tenants or concepts that I think are going to be great from my travels around the world. And I'm going to just be reaching out to those people and finding good operators for those businesses and trying to bring them to Philadelphia when the time comes.
You love to travel.
I do like to travel.
You got to be missing it.
Oh man, it's been a long time since I've traveled. The furthest I've traveled in the last year was like down the shore. I'm missing it. I'm ready to go somewhere.
I know we had taken a big trip and last Christmas to the January 9th.
Oh.
And it was 18 days in Europe. We were in Germany, Munich, Salzburg, Vienna, Budapest, and then Milan.
Oof.
And we came back, and COVID was going on then, but nobody knew that.
I know. What was your favorite place to travel?
Ever that I've been to? I mean, yeah. I love Italy. I mean, Italy is just, there's so many amazing places, Tuscany. I've been to Italy about more than 12 times.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a lot. So I know it pretty well. And every time for at least 2 weeks. So awesome. I've spent some time there and I miss it. I see a show, like if I'm watching a movie and Italy is in it, I will watch it even though if I saw it 5 times just because Italy was in it.
Italy is a beautiful place. I love traveling Europe and all these places. The coolest place I love Barcelona. I think Barcelona is an awesome place too.
I've not been to Barcelona. I've only been to Madrid in Spain and like that's south from Madrid down around to like Gibraltar and then over to Morocco. That was a long time ago. That was a little scary, the Morocco. Have you ever been there?
No, it's on my list. Oh
my God. I would go back to like Marrakesh, but that was in Tangiers. And it was like a day, when you take like those day trips. And we were on in this hydro ferry and you're strapped in like literally like this. And the thing is going like, I don't know how fast, but it was going so fast that I was petrified. I couldn't even believe it was legal to do that.
Yeah,
it was crazy. And the thing was like flying up in the air.
Yeah, they have those in Greece as well. There's like a high-speed ferry to go from one island to the other. They're pretty amazing. They're like big, like cruise ships that go super fast.
Super fast. So crazy.
The coolest place that we've been to, I would say, is the Galapagos Islands. Have you been there?
I heard it's amazing.
It is like no other place. It doesn't even feel like you're on Earth. It feels like you're on another planet. And there's just the animals there are just, stuff that you just never see before. They just come right up to you. Nobody lives on certain parts of the island. And so it's uninhabited by humans. Mm. So the animals are just not scared of people because they've just never been threatened. They've never been threatened all the time they've been there. It's absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, it's on my list.
You have to go there. Like
definitely on my list.
You have to go there when you're young enough to it's like a pretty physical trip. So you have to go there when you're young enough to be able to be physically active and not, you can't be too old and too young. Like my kids, when we went, they were just old enough to be able to do all the adventure stuff. And, you can't be too old either because you're doing a lot of hiking and stuff like that. So yeah, cool place.
Well, if you're like 80 and in good shape, you might be able to make.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true.
That's what got to keep things going. So Noah, we've gotten a lot accomplished in this Be the Solution. I could talk for another hour, but these are usually an hour. I'd like to hear your thoughts about the market in Philadelphia before we wrap up and
sure.
What you think's going on. And I have my thoughts, but I love to hear yours.
Yeah, so I'll give you my thoughts, but I'm typically a data-driven person, so I follow what the data says. We had one of our best quarters ever for the third quarter. So July, August, September, the market had one of its best quarters ever. More sales, highest volume. I mean, it was good all across the board, and it's been busy, and I think everybody felt it. After September happened and October rolled around, I felt a major drop off in the market. In Philadelphia, suburbs in New Jersey still going pretty strong. I'm talking specifically about Philadelphia. I felt a major drop off. The number of showings I got on my listings dropped off. The amount of leads that we got dropped off, and that's sales and rentals. I'm talking about both. And I started studying the data, and there's about at least two times as many homes on the market right now than there was this time last year.
I saw that.
Yep. So that is the leading indicator of what's to come. So to answer your question, I don't have enough data to really tell you like what's going on in the market. And I think it depends on a lot of things. So there's double the amount of inventory right now. I think that had to do with the election. You know, people in October were sort of, somewhat paralyzed in making a decision because of the election.
They definitely took a pause.
Coronavirus, sort of slowed people down a little bit. I think with interest rates being so low, it caused prices to go up pretty high, faster than normal. And people just sort of felt that prices were too high. I think a lot of that played into it. And with the more inventory coming onto the market, buyers had more to choose from. So I don't know now that all that stuff's over, if more buyers will come to the market and scoop up that inventory. Because, this time of the year during the fall market and winter, there's not as many homes that come on the market as there is in like the spring or summer. So with the fewer homes coming on the market, maybe more of that inventory will get up, and we'll keep our month supply of inventory low, and it will keep a pretty good market. But I'm definitely feeling the slowdown. I don't know if it's seasonal. I don't know if it's just the market starting to turn, but we're keeping our eye on it. We're teaching our agents to get focused and take action and create inventory, right? That part of what keeps the market going is, and I know you've always been good at this, is creating inventory, going out and getting listings, creating business out of thin air, teaching them how to do that. And so that they can bring the inventory to the market and educate their buyers on how to approach these situations and how to deal with the conversations they have with their sellers about, pricing ahead of the market versus, what we just came from. This is the challenging time of the market, right? When, especially for appraisers, they don't want to look at stuff from 6 months ago anymore because they know that that's not what the market we're in. And, sellers are still looking at stuff from 6 months ago, and their sellers are the last ones to know, right? Buyers.
Yeah. I've been running a constantly for 90 days since we opened back up.
What are your thoughts on the market?
I mean, I think it's a tale of two markets. I think that the lower end of the market, there's a lot of inventory that come. The best inventory is selling. The best price war and a beauty contest. I mean, it has to look good and be priced right.
Yeah.
And, getting offers that are within 5% or ask are very normal. And I think sellers should take them. And the days of getting offers for, at ask, unless they're priced under market, are pretty much null and void. I wouldn't want to be in the high end market in Philadelphia, in the downtown. The development amount of units that are on the market is an unbelievable amount of inventory. We have more inventory than we've ever had in the million up market. So I think you're going to see a lot of adjustments in that arena. And that doesn't count for shadow inventory.
Yeah.
All the stuff that is, not online yet, that is being built that we know about. And there's hundreds and hundreds of units.
Agreed.
So
I think there's positives for real estate agents as well, of course. A lot of agents that made their business off of open houses are obviously not having the same success on open houses now that they used to, because people aren't showing up or they're just afraid to do open houses. But we have not had the opportunity to really get into for sale by owners and expired listings over the last couple of years like we used to, because for sale by owners, we're able to sell stuff themselves because the market's good and not as many listings were expiring. And now I think as the market's turning, it's going to be harder for people to sell homes on their own, and they're going to be looking for real estate agents, the most professional real estate agents, to sell their homes. And I think if you've positioned yourself as a good marketer and a professional real estate agent, then you're going to have a better chance of selling somebody's home versus them going to their aunt or their cousin who sells 1 or 2 houses a year. And I think more homes will expire now than they did in the past also, which that's good for your business. I know you do that a lot, or you used to do that.
Well, I'm just getting back into it because I figured it's fun, something to do. It keeps me entertained.
Yeah. Gives you somebody to talk to.
Yeah. Well, I'm busy. I have people calling me all the time
I'm
to
sure
list the properties or whatever. I've been in business 16 years now, so.
Yeah.
And aggressively market, and we're out there, and video is key. Building your brand with video. Agents need to get on the bus, the video bus.
Yeah.
It's a great way to build your business. So
agreed.
I love it now.
It's fun. It's always something new.
Yeah. Like last Saturday, I sat and I did 25 videos, 23 with first take, no script.
That's amazing.
But I've gotten a lot better. I watched videos of myself from a year ago now, and it's like night and day.
So what are your top 3 tips for people that want to do videos? What are some things that you made changes on that you think that they should do as well?
So number 1, everyone always says, I don't like the way that you look. Well, get over it, because that's how you look in real life.
Right.
Number 1. Number 2, when you put yourself out in the arena, everybody and you're vulnerable. That's where growth and change happen. And if somebody's going to, make fun of you or whatever, then they shouldn't be there. They don't get to decide because they're not in the arena with you.
Yeah.
And let's see, 1 minute of video is worth 1.8 million words.
1 minute of videos
is more powerful than 1.8 million words.
So explain that one for people that don't know what you mean there.
That means if you wrote 1.8 million words, it would equal 1 minute of video.
Okay.
You know how many words that is?
I mean, it sounds like a lot.
It's a lot. It's like
a lot.
It's a lot. And 1 minute video is 500% more effective than words on a piece of paper.
Because people can relate to the personality, and people want to work with people or be with people that they can relate to, that they can interact with. And I tell people all the time, being a real estate agent is just about being a human being, about somebody that people can relate to. And that's really all it is. So just be relatable. Be you. Be normal. Just be you. That's right.
And when you're you get the right clients and you find the right people to work with, and there's so much opportunity out there for real estate agents. I think if they could just be themselves and put themselves out there, they can build a beautiful business for them and their family.
That's right. A lot of opportunity in the real estate industry, whether it's a good market or a bad market. There's always going to be opportunity. You just have to.
Yeah, we got to be able to zig and zag and figure it out and keep running and keep going, right?
You have to be the solution, right?
You have to be the solution. Noah, you've been fantastic today. I am so glad that we got to do this together. I want to do it again in a few months.
Anytime.
Maybe in the early spring, but maybe, I don't know, we can have a cup of coffee outside sometime soon. You live not far from me, so
anytime.
I'm here. I'll reach out to you. In the meantime, keep being the solution. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. And I am blessed and grateful for you today. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
My pleasure.